And we are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host. And as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. Is it? No, it's not the last show of the year. Is it? We have another show next week, I think.
Yep.
Okay. So let's celebrate. Let's make the next week. We're gonna make it the New Year show, like maybe year in review and all that. But this week, for the people that are bothered by us talking about Tesla a lot, the last few weeks of the year, the news cycle dies. Gee, my voice almost went away there. The news cycle kind of dies down, and there's not that many news in any space really. But there's always Tesla news because, especially thanks to Elon and his shenanigans, there's always something to talk about. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that a little bit and a few other things, a few good things too. Happy ho-ho, everyone. Happy ho-ho, Rich Deer. Thank you for being in the comments. And yeah, we're going to have plenty of times today, too, to take your comments and your question, too. So please put them in the comment section right now. We're going to probably get to them pretty fast today because, again, not that much news that happens this time of the year, this very merry time of the year. But that was one of the bigger news of this week, an exclusive from Electrek that Tesla is about to implement a hiring freeze into the new year and a round of layoff in Q1 2023. So we learned that from a very reliable source that has never failed us. And they were told that it wasn't clear, we couldn't confirm exactly throughout the entire company, but most teams were told to put on a hiring freeze and to prep for layoff in Q1 2023. Of course, that follows another one of the same thing happened, hiring freeze and layoff, a wave of layoff in June. And the thing with Tesla, though, when they do that, normally it comes right back up and then they start ramping up hiring pretty quickly. So it's generally kind of like an efficiency wave to like clean up the inefficiency in the hiring process, because of course Tesla is hiring like thousands of people every month. Now, this thing's a little bit different. Like we know last time in June, Elon gave a bunch of different reasons for the layoff, but the one that he gave internally to like the top executive was that he had the fear of the macroeconomics, and he's been vocal about that lately too on Twitter. So I would assume that that's what's happening again. Like they are seeing some trends internally that might be worrying them a little bit, and they want to scale back. I think that makes sense. And of course, this news follows Tesla, some confusion, some worries about Tesla's demand right now, and we saw that through increasing the discount this week. So there was a big increase on the $3,500 discounts on all vehicles delivered in the U.S. this month was increased to $7,500. However, there might be, demand is obviously the reason for that. You never cut prices unless you need to, really. If people are buying your cars at a higher price, you want that. There's no way around it. But in the U.S. itself, there's been like some speculation about why it was $3,500, which is exactly half of the federal tax credit or the full federal tax credit that you would get next year if the vehicle doesn't comply to the battery origin requirements. So we speculated that it might be that Tesla expected to have a half credit into the new year instead of a full credit, and then to incentivize people to buy right now instead of waiting for next month. They gave them the credit right away, or a discount instead of a credit, I guess. And what we learned earlier this week or last weekend really is that not Tesla, but the U.S. Treasury delayed the release of those battery material requirements until March. And what that result is that every car that is produced in North America, every electric vehicle is produced in North America will get the full credit until March, since they don't have those guidance to specifically for the automakers to specifically know whether their vehicles or not will qualify for the full credit. So Tesla might have seen that and might have thought like, oh, now people are going to be expecting the full credit from January through March, so we better give them the full discount right now. That, or simply they didn't have, the people weren't buying enough, so they were like, all right, let's give them the full credit and just be done with this. Now, the kicker, the big difference is that Tesla is not only discounting in the US, it has discounted also. We've seen discounts in Canada and in Mexico, and those discounts have been different. They've been like $5,000, so it's not the same thing. But Tesla is certainly having issues, demand issues outside of the US, so it's not just a tax credit affecting the demand. At the same time, too, we keep saying demand issue, and it is accurate to say that, I think, but it's not just for demand going down, it's also production going up at the same time. So it's important. Like the reason that Tesla is having, one of the reasons that Tesla is having some issues selling cars this quarter is that, yes, the tax credit, there's the Elon factor, of course, that's playing too, though it's extremely hard to quantify that Elon factor. And there is the fact that Tesla has more cars to sell this quarter because production has been up. And we learned that this week too from Tesla announcing Berlin too has reached 3,000 vehicles per week. So last week it was Texas, and it kind of came out of nowhere because Tesla never even confirmed like the 2,000 vehicles per week in Texas. But while it did a while back for Berlin, so it looked like Texas like jumped ahead of Berlin at this point. But now Berlin was right behind because a week later, Tesla confirmed this week that Berlin is now at 3,000 vehicles per week. Of course, Berlin is about the European markets, but there's been some discounts in European markets too, including the 10,000 free supercharging miles or kilometers. Let's say it's weird about that. It's 10,000 free miles for the countries that use miles and 10,000 free kilometers for countries that use kilometers. That doesn't sound fair at all.
No, that doesn't.
It's like what 1.6 is the multiplier, I think, from kilometers to miles. Like a 60% discount that we're getting. So that's the worry around the situation with Tesla's demand. But we did get some good news. I reported this morning, but I think it came out like Tesla communicated last night. The inventory is pretty low right now, at least in the US. So I did a channel check of all the main markets, like the Bay Area, Los Angeles area, New York, Florida, Texas, all the main markets. And the inventory has gone down significantly over the last few weeks, thanks to those incentives. And now Tesla has even authorized some markets to sell display vehicles and test drive vehicles. So that's generally a good sign in the last, especially with still a good week in the quarter to go. When Tesla start doing that, it means, okay, the inventory is low now, and Tesla is on its way to sell all the cars that they have on inventory this quarter, including the display vehicles and test drive vehicles. And people might think like that shouldn't have a giant impact. That's a few thousand cars. Like they have a bunch of them at every location. Tesla has hundreds of locations, so that's a few thousand cars right there that Tesla can sell more if they are authorized to do so, which they have been now. So even though I think the worry about Tesla's demand is certainly warranted, and we're going to get into that with the Elon stuff, I guess, in a few minutes. But it's not all bad signs. I think Tesla is still selling a lot of cars this quarter. However, they're selling a lot of them for a lot cheaper. Of course, the discounts only started to happen this month, so there was the first 2 months but Tesla in December, the last month of the quarter, is always the biggest month because a lot of cars are in transit for a while. Though Tesla did have 20,000 cars in transit at the end of Q3 too, so that's going to help. But I would expect Tesla to deliver at this point. I'm thinking maybe like Elon's magic number, 420,000 vehicle would be sounds about right. If it's more than that, I think it's going to be a good quarter. If it's less than that, I think it's not going to be great. And obviously expect gross margins to go down. I would expect things closer to 20% for the gross margin, which is going to be a big drop for Tesla, really. So, but still likely to almost. I would be shocked if Tesla is not profitable still this quarter.
Yeah, I think they're definitely in the profit, but the question is like, why do they need to sell their drive vehicles, like their test drive vehicles and their display vehicles? It seems like a weird decision.
Yeah, well, it's still a vehicle in inventory. technically. Like
Right.
it still shows up in inventory, and it looks bad. Like every car in inventory looks bad.
Right.
Uh, so this selling those out, like it's literally like millions, like tens, not hundreds of millions of dollars that is off inventory, and that's just looks great on the balance sheet at the end of quarter. Tesla does it. And also, like the cars are, there's this rumor that's
Right.
very strongly backed that like the Model 3 is coming up with an update relatively soon. So you might want to be ready to get a new Model 3s in there. The Model S and X have been recently like updated with like a rear screen, like a bigger rear screen. So maybe like that's also you would want the new car in the shop, and you alternate those pretty frequently anyway. Maybe not, you don't need to like every quarter or something like that, but it's good to not have it too old, instead when you actually want to sell it, not too many miles, especially for the test drive vehicles, primarily.
Right.
But even the display vehicles, like people sit in those all the time, like they get wear and tear pretty quickly. You would be surprised.
Yeah, I guess it allows them to have cars they can sell for just a little bit less than the new ones.
Yeah, that too. Though Tesla is famously not big on the, like they don't offer like big discounts for those vehicles. Maybe this quarter is going to be a little bit different with already a $7,500 discounts for brand new cars. That's a big deal. Okay, let's get into the. I mean, before we get into Tesla, the Elon stuff, let's talk about a few good things about Tesla too. Um, this was an interesting one here. Tesla's going to allow third party charging stations on its navigation system, but to qualify, you need to match, or at least come close to matching, Tesla's high standards for charging. What I mean by that is, and that's not just an opinion at this point. For a while, it was an opinion, a widely agreed opinion, like consensus amongst EV driver, that Tesla supercharger network was a lot more reliable and a lot better than most of their charging network. But now, more recently, we even had surveys that confirmed that. And I mean, physical surveys of people like checking the stations and everything, and Tesla's uptime and reliability in terms of the showing up and having a station that works was so much higher than any other competitor in North America. Apparently, it's a little bit better in Europe, if not a lot better. But in North America, it was not even close. So now Tesla is going to allow to add, like when you click on the little lightning bolt on your navigation system in Tesla, and right now it shows you superchargers and destination chargers and all that, depending on which bolt you click. But now it's also going to allow to show like third-party charging stations, so Electrify America, EVgo, and others. But there's a bunch of requirements. So here they are. The automaker says that the charging will need to meet these three criteria over a 60-day period in order to be added. So you're going to have to be monitored over 60 days and know if you have at least one compatible charging connector during that time. Okay, that's fairly easy. Though, yeah, I should start by the fact that saying that this program is first launching in Europe and Israel, which is going to be a lot easier to match the first criteria because those stations already have CCS, and Tesla is using CCS in those markets. In North America, EVgo a lot of EVgo stations could already qualify because they already have adopted Tesla's connector at some station.
NACS.
What is
The NACS connector.
Oh yeah. This is called NACS now. The NACS connector, not the Tesla connector. All right. The other requirement, but obviously, over Tesla is trying to. It's a good point that you bring it up right now, because Tesla is trying to have other charging station charging network operators adopt the NACS too. So if they do, that's going to be it's a big incentive for them now to add it, because then they could be added in Tesla's navigation system, and that's a big deal. Like even if you don't like Tesla for whatever reason, there are a lot of Tesla vehicles out there. So if your business is selling charge, well, being in Tesla vehicles navigation system is a giant benefit. The second criteria is be frequently used by Tesla driver at least once every 4 days. So that's more for Europe right now. So if there's let's say like a Fastnet station, for example, that's already seeing some use once every 4 days from Tesla drivers, then it can be added. and then an average charge success rate of 90% or higher. So that's where it's going to be hard for the North American station. They not just need to have the Tesla connector, they need to have a success rate over 90%. And in my own road trips, in non-Tesla vehicles in North America right now, I have nowhere near 90% success rate. I'm sure that you're in similar situations, Ed.
Yeah, except for that one trip I took
Yeah.
on EVgo with the Ford F-150. But I mean, it seems like a pretty high standard for these things to meet.
Yeah, for sure. But and that's a standard for them to be added to the navigation system. Then there's another set of criteria as well, just to be taken off of it, and that's on over a period. If one of those two criteria is met within a 14 days period, you're taking off of the system, as that no charge session detected. So if you're not being used by a Tesla vehicle over 14 days, you're off. And then average success rate falls below 70%. So this is actually being nice here, where to get added, you need a 90%, but then you have some room after that. If something happens, you can drop all the way down to 70%. But if it drops below that, you're out. I think those. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
No, it is kind of weird that if no charges are detected in 14 days, they take you off. Well, that's like that. What if just nobody shows up? Like, I feel like I know Tesla stations are quite busy, but I don't know. I could see like a charger in the middle of North Dakota not being available or not being used in 2 weeks, but still an important charger. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fair point, I guess. I mean, maybe they could do some exceptions for things like that, but I mean, 14 days not being used, like it's a long time still. I guess
true.
it's not being used by Tesla vehicles though. But
Right.
I mean, there's so many Tesla vehicles these days. I feel like even the most like further out would still get some use over 2 weeks.
Yep.
Oh, this is by the way, this is a new feature at Electrek that was launched this week. The top comment now is showing up inside our article. So if you, for the top commenters on Electrek, you have a chance to be featured inside our articles now.
I like that.
I hope you do.
Yeah.
You're the one behind that feature. You're doing your Elon Musk now. You're retweeting your old quotes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you retweeted it. Like that's right.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Whoever came up with that is smart.
All right. Other good Tesla news this week. Well, I mean, it's again a rumor. We talked about it last week, where the rumors of a Tesla Gigafactory in Mexico is becoming closer and closer. And now there was even a report this week that says that it could be announced as soon as this week. So I guess today would be the last day to do it. If it doesn't happen this week, what the sources in Mexico are saying is that it would happen next month. So they would wait, I guess, on the holidays. Mexico, they're big on Christmas in Mexico. So they'll wait until the new year, I guess. I think there was a few other things. So yeah, some of the reports were also saying that there was going to be an investment of $800 million to $1 billion at first, and at first it would be to supply parts, to make parts to supply Tesla's other factories. As we reported, this is just outside of Monterrey, which is not too far from Tesla, Texas. I think 400 miles, something like that. And but $800 million to $1 billion for parts supplying is big, and the same report suggests that the investment could get into several billions of dollars and could include the production of actual vehicles. So Tesla could be producing vehicles in Mexico, and now I think with the new tax credit too, like it includes vehicles produced in Mexico, right?
Yeah, I mean Ford Mustangs, Mach-E's, or
it's North America, so
yep.
So it's not a bad investment to make now, building things in Mexico. So we'll see. And then on the bad side news, Volkswagen is going to sneak in a quick $1,500 price increase starting January 4th. So in about 2 weeks, we'll have all the new pricing here. So the standard ID4 standard is going to start at $39,000, and it goes all the way up to $55,000 if you're on the Pro S Plus. So of course that comes with the tax credit is also going to get in place at the same time. And for the Volkswagen ID4 that are produced in Tennessee, you were expected. Are we expecting that they get half the credit? Right? We're not expecting them to get the full credit. Right?
Eventually, they will get half, but
Yeah.
until the battery thing, I think they're in the same boat
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Chevy.
Yeah. So the first 3 months are going to set 7,500, and then it's going to switch to
Get 'em
35.
quick.
Well, I mean, we don't know. Like that's the whole thing with the delay of the battery thing. Like we need to wait until March to figure it out. I mean, to be honest, I'm not shocked by this whole thing, this whole battery thing not panning out until March, because like tracking these things is so hard. I did a nice report. I don't know if you guys missed it. I don't think we talked about it on the podcast about the battery passport. So this coalition of EV manufacturer, including Tesla, it's actually led by Tesla. Battery, the chair. There's two chairs, and one of them is from Tesla, and the other is actually from Investment Quebec here, who's the Battery Valley thing. So they are big in there. So these two people are leading a coalition of EV manufacturers to be able to track every component of a battery, basically to know exactly where it comes from. And that would be obviously a game changer for the tax credit thing. You would know exactly if you get it or not. You will know exactly the percentage of materials coming from North America and countries that have free trade agreements with the US, which is the requirement for that. All right. Now let's get into it a little bit. What happened with Elon Musk this week and everything. So since we left you guys last week on Friday, there was a few big development. So we did half the show last week on all the shenanigans that Elon is involved in and how it's affecting Tesla and all that. And we're not the only one putting some pressure on Elon. There's a lot of investors from Tesla putting a lot of pressure on him to do something because the stock has been crashing too all week also. And he put out a poll out there saying that if he's going to abide by the result of the poll, and the poll was saying, do you want him to leave the leadership of Twitter? And I think he was surprised, but the poll came out, 17 million people voted, and 57% of them voted for him to leave the leadership of Twitter.
I think he was very surprised as well, and it wasn't even close. And it was his followers that saw it and could vote.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like that's the thing I wasn't so sure about. I think he was very confident about it because he has the most followers than anyone on Twitter, and he sends it out. So, and it's only a 24-hour poll, so things happen pretty quickly. And I'm sure other people can spread it. Other people that have a different message about the situation, and then they can vote yes on it. But within 24 hours, you'd think that he has a big advantage on it. Anyway, it came out like that. So, and in the past, he has like followed these things when he said like, "There's a poll, I'm going to follow it." So I thought, okay, this is a step in a good direction. He's been voted out. He's going to have to move on, and we can go back to some kind of normalcy, semblance of it at least. But we started seeing early, so that on Monday that was confirmed that the results. And right away, like it took him a full day to comment. Like for a full day, he didn't say anything about it, which I would assume he was fuming.
Yep.
And then he started to question, or at least through other people. That's the thing I hate about the way he used Twitter these days. All the more controversial things that he discussed, he's not discussing himself. He's like, he retweets other people and he comments on tweets, sort of like agreeing or not even agreeing, like doing like interesting, like saying interesting to someone talking about like Kim.com, talking about the deep state and things like that.
Right.
And say like, oh, that's interesting.
That's the way he like brings attention to a point of view without saying like, hey,
I'm on board.
This conspiracy theory is something you should think about. Like that he would never say.
Yeah.
Well, he probably would now, but it's just I noticed this like a long time ago. He brings things to the fore that he doesn't necessarily he can't say that he agrees with, but he just like, here's some stuff to 200 million people, like you should look at this, and that's not great.
You know what it reminds me of a little bit? Well, a lot actually.
Trump?
When Trump goes, someone told me or have heard of, like, they say they're saying, like, who's saying, they're saying, everyone is saying, like things like that, like just normalizing a wild belief. And because Kim.com, I mean, I haven't followed him in a long time, honestly, and I know I know for a fact the US like messed up this is the whole thing around him. Like they played dirty, and the US plays dirty a lot. Like there's no doubt about it. So he was played dirty, and also played. There was a lot of shenanigans in New Zealand about it and everything. But the guy is also like not like great company. Like, to be honest, like he's always had a clear pattern his whole life, is like, how can I squeeze money from people on the internet with providing shady services? Like this has been Kim.com's like MO for a long time, and he's been very successful at it, God bless him. But he's not like the most like trustworthy person, in my opinion. And you have him talking about the deep state rigging Elon's poll, and Elon is like, oh, like that's the kind of guy I want to listen to right now.
Right.
Like that sounds like Donald Trump losing the election, and like giving any resemblance of validity to anyone that's suggesting that there was some fraud in an election. So it's not a good look at all. And then there was a few of those things in a row that he did when he started to comment on the whole situation, without never saying exactly that he will not follow the result of the polls. But he did say that, okay, next time that there's an important Twitter decision that goes to a poll, now it's only going to go to the Twitter Blue people, so people that pays him $8 a month to be on Twitter, which obviously is going to sway everything to his favor, because most people that are Twitter Blue right now are pro Elon Musk. Which I would like to know how many people that is, because I would assume it's not that many, honestly. Not saying that many people are pro Elon, but many people that are willing to pay $8 a month for Twitter Blue.
Yeah, I mean, we'll never know unless it's a good number, because it's a private company. They don't have to say anything.
Yeah, exactly. So in the meantime, the stock kept crashing all week, like a lot of crashing, and but Elon more recently confirms that he will abide by the poll, and he's gonna step down as CEO once he finds someone. Though
he's still gonna run server and software, which is like
software and engineering. He's gonna run. But I guess if he stays true to that and stop commenting on the policy stuff, that would be still a big win, I think. Because it's his old comments on the policy stuff that sounds so. I mean, I had this comment this week.
Him just getting off Twitter would be the best thing.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, though.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, and then it cumulated to yesterday, where he jumped into a Twitter space, where people were supposedly talking about Tesla, because of course Tesla had a horrific week on the stock market. There was a lot of Twitter. There was a lot of Twitter talk in that space, really. But he did make a few comments with Tesla. And the biggest one, the one that a lot of investors wanted to know, is like, are you going to stop selling Tesla stock? And he did confirm that he's going to stop selling. But we are millions of miles away from Elon saying, like, I'm going to be the last one to sell Tesla. Like, obviously we've been away from that a long time. But now his comment on it was. So Jamie did put the quote together here. So I'm quoting from: I'm not selling any stock for, I don't know, a minimum of 18-24 months. You can count on me. No stock sells until 2025 or something.
Right.
This is verbatim, I assume, from I'm putting the intentions in it different, but I need to sell some stock just to make sure that there's still some powder dry to account for a worst case scenario. I won't sell stocks until 2 years from now. Definitely not next year under any circumstances.
Even though probably he said 18 to 12, 18 to 24 months.
I don't know. I would assume that JV took this thing. I didn't wrote that, but would take this thing verbatim. I didn't hear that part of the space. I was like in the grocery store as I was listening to it. But that's a crazy quote right there. Like going from I'll be the last one to sell Tesla stocks to I'll sell it to to prove people that I pay taxes, to I'll sell it to buy a social media platform, and then I'll sell it to keep that social media platform alive, to now I'll never sell until 18 to 24 months. Oh, maybe next year. No, definitely not next year. Maybe the year after that. It's just wow. Right. Oh boy. But he did say that, and he kept repeating that he's never missed an important meeting at Tesla since he acquired Twitter, because that's been a big worry of Tesla investors lately. Where like, how much time is he actually spending on Tesla versus Twitter? Which I think is a fair question, and I don't know. So there was the other thing this week too, where Russ Gerber, who's a big Tesla investor, been big Tesla investor for a long time, big fan of Elon Musk too, that he said he was running for a board seat now at Tesla because he wanted to hold the board accountable for what Elon is doing. And I mean, the guy has no concern. Let's be honest. Let's be very clear. Russ, I haven't seen him show any concern whatsoever about anything Elon is saying on Twitter. So let's take it out of the way. His only concern is the stock price, and he think that the biggest impact on the stock price is Elon selling, which is probably right about. And he wants Elon to spend more time on Twitter, on Tesla rather than Twitter. Okay, so that's so he's not gonna be, if you think that he's gonna be some kind of like Twitter police for Elon, like forget it. But he has these concerns, and it was kind of wild because Elon responded to him on Twitter saying that he says like, yeah, Russ, you should go back to reading like
Econ 101. I hope I didn't lose you, Fred. There's been some bad weather in the area, so we're hoping he pops back on. Oh, there he is. Fred, you're back. All right, we'll get him to look at the screen here in a second. Be back shortly here. Fred, you're muted. Oh, maybe his podcaster's off. Got to plug that thing into a different outlet there. Holding. We'll be back in a few. Fred, I can see you. You're just muted. I think your podcaster isn't plugged in. We'll take 5 here while we boot back up. There you are. You're back.
Can you hear me? No.
Yep. Yes.
You can't hear me, right?
Yes. What's going down over there? Do you lose power? Oh. Hi, Dan. Thanks. Fred, can you hear me? Oh, yeah. So Fred had a power wall, had an outage, but the power walls kicked in and screwed with everything because I think the power walls are actually at a lower voltage. We were talking about this earlier. I think the power walls come in at like 208 volts versus the 240 or 220 that most things expect. So Fred's having some issues. We'll see if he comes back on here in a few minutes. Meanwhile, I guess I might as well begin doing more of the show. So I'll bring that up. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Sorry about that. Just lost power. There's a blizzard here right now. My power wall kicked back in, but I'm not completely backed up. All of my, like, as you can see, I have a pretty crazy setup here, and not everything in my setup is backed up on my power wall. And like, I just lost my main screen, and I lost a few things where it's screwed with my setup basically. But for some reason, my audio is still good, and I'm good if I'm on this camera and directly on my laptop. So
Can you put up the screen we're looking at, or I can do that actually?
yeah, you can do it because it's
Yeah,
with
let me do that.
all my Google Chrome windows. When my main screen like just shut off, basically it wouldn't go back up. Like I couldn't go back up to it. It's so strange.
All right, we were on Elon.
Yeah, I was saying about Russ like joining the board, right?
Yep.
So
All right, let me timestamp when we get back on. Let's see, 37:20.
yeah,
37:30.
yeah. Sorry about that, guys. It's a very bad outside here right now. Very bad. I don't know if my power got back onto. It's just my or my power wall are completely on right now. No, I'm on my power walls right now. All right. So where was I with that? I was saying so. Ross is trying. Elon responded to Ross by saying, "Yeah, Ross, you should go back to reading like financials analysis 101, which is really like, in my opinion, at least unacceptable for like a CEO of a company to tell that to one of their investors that has serious concern." And all he was saying, it was like, I want the board to do a review of Elon Musk's time spent at Twitter versus Tesla. I want him to have a clearer plan about selling Tesla stocks, which is completely fair. Like Elon is a big part of why the stock, like, is direct sells. I mean, not even what he's saying on Twitter and all that. His selling of the stock is a big part of the drop in Tesla stock. And Elon, like, after a lot of people were like, "Hey, why are you being a jerk?" Like responding like that. He said that he claimed that it's not about this Tesla stock. Like he refused to take responsibility himself. His stock sell or his action on Twitter having an effect on Tesla stock. 'Cause he thinks it's the Feds increasing the rates, and just the broader market is down too, which is fair to a degree. Like there's definitely that has been a big impact. There's no doubt about it. But you have to recognize that he has had an impact too. And I posted the charts of tracking the Nasdaq versus Tesla stock, and in the last 2 months since he acquired Twitter, it's night and day. Like the Nasdaq has been mostly flat down a little bit, and Tesla has dropped like 30% in that time. So there's no comparison at this point. So Elon has had a huge effect on the stock. There's no way. And the fact that he's not recognizing that, and then that he's mocking a shareholder for asking for some checks and balances over his role, is just not a good look at all. And yeah, now there's the hope right now that at least is like it might be stepping down from the role of CEO of Twitter. But I've been I did this whole thread yesterday on Twitter about it, where I see, because we've seen a lot of like Elon super fans and Tesla super fans like slowly trying to get better perspective on the situation, really, and see that Elon is not really this on like hero that can do no wrong and all that. And but there's still a lot of them that are still completely behind him and supporting everything he says and all that. And I mean, we don't need to get into that, but I think that's a big part of where we are here right now. I think that's part of the issue where Elon has I think lost a lot of his feedback loop through those people, I think. And
I was just going to say, yeah, I think a lot of people who are big time investors in Tesla and have lost, half of their fortune or whatever. And, frankly, it's not all Elon's fault for sure. Like
no.
the broader market's been down, a lot, but his selling and his tweeting are obviously big pieces of what they've lost. So they're starting to take him to task a little bit more. I wouldn't say everybody is, but like for a
good chunk.
And it's funny because I know you're hearing this, but I'm also hearing people who used to, like, when we started kind of rapping Elon's knuckles about being an idiot on Twitter. They kind of told us to screw off, and now they're kind of like, they're back and like, oh, we were wrong, you're right.
Yeah, we saw this where this was going. A lot of them was like, he's just a little bit of fun or something. Like now that your guy seems more excited about the next QAnon drop than he is about this Tesla Cybertruck. Like now it's not fun anymore. Like
no,
obviously I'm exaggerating, but not that much, which is kind of crazy when talking about Elon Musk. But yeah. I see nobody kind of has the idea here, like nobody in the chat. I mean, that's their handle. So that Elon has lost a lot of his credibility. So that's the thing. Like a lot of these people that are holding on to, like they're staying on the Elon side on this. They are holding on to the idea that it's just the stock price be affected. It's not the actual Tesla operation that affected. It's not the actual financials. It's not the actual fundamentals. And he can argue against that because we've seen Tesla probably having some demand issue lately. So it's not really true about that. But I think the credibility part is the biggest issue, where Tesla has so much of its value attached to Elon's credibility, and the company itself has to admit it in its own SEC filing about ongoing concern that they are attached to Elon Musk to a degree. And if Elon's tried to be disinterested in Tesla, or not as much as he has been, is going to have an impact. So that's not even me saying that; that's Tesla saying it. And lately, or over the last few years, since Tesla dismissed their PR department, and Elon has been the sole voice of Tesla, really the sole spokesperson for it. So a lot of Tesla's value has been attached to his voice and his credibility, and his credibility is just in free fall, just like Tesla stocks. Like, tell me that it's what's the actual English saying? That's correlation is not causation. Is that it?
Yeah, correlation doesn't mean causation.
Yeah, but in this case, I think it does. Like, I think
right.
it is. And again, not fully. I know that the Feds have a role at play. I know the broader market has a role at play, but this has definitely a role at play too, where Elon's credibility is falling. And there's a lot of things at Tesla, like the FSD program, for example, that it's because we don't have access to much data about it. And that, like, I know there's the FSD beta program, and I have it in my car and everything, but I'm having issues myself using it, determining like how much of an improvement it is over time. Like, I have it since May. It's going to be a year in 3 months, and it's I don't feel it has improved that much or at all, really. So we need to see a path to Tesla delivering on this promise here, and a lot of that is based on, we have to base it on what Elon is saying, because we don't have any data on it. And now what Elon is saying doesn't mean what Elon was saying like 3 years ago. 3 years ago, like, you had a lot of people and almost all Tesla investors, Elon say something, that's true, that's the truth, or whatever you want to see it as. Now Elon say something, and you have I don't know. I cannot put the percentage on this, but I wouldn't be surprised you have a majority of people that are seeing what he's saying and they're rolling their eyes. That's how I see it at this point.
I mean, look at his Twitter poll. Like
Yeah,
his
57% are rolling their eyes.
Of his followers. So it's a big deal. And he's not getting the message. He went to a Chappelle show, not necessarily pro or negative Elon audience, and he was getting booed by 90% of the people. Like it wasn't,
and definitely an anti woke audience too. Like the Chappelle audience is anti woke, but it was still San Francisco. So, how much anti woke can you get? And that was a good point where he seems delusional about how people view him at this point. Like we cannot say it for a fact, but it looks like he was expecting the poll to go a completely different way, and then he started to argue that the validity in the poll in the first place. And just 2 weeks before that, the whole Chappelle thing where he says actually 90% of the crowd was cheering and 10% was not cheering.
Yeah,
and that from the video that seems completely off, and from the fact that
you don't stop the show when it's 10%.
Then
they stopped the show and freaked out.
He did claim that a fight broke out and everything, like a few minutes after he got on stage. But even before, as soon as he got on stage, you can see his body language change, and like he was not expecting that. And when Elon gets on stage, he gets on stage at Tesla events, Neuralink events, SpaceX events, and all that, where he literally he's like a rock star at those events. Like we've been there, and I remember, I will never forget Model Y event 2019. We are very close to the front, and we were just like this, like so many people around us and everything, waiting for Elon to. I had my laptop in my hands, like writing my article as things were going on. And when Elon goes on stage, the pop he got, like I've been to comedy shows, I've been to concert, and like he got like very similar pop and that, and then. There's women in the front row that are like putting their hands out there as if like the Beatles are coming out and like they're about to faint. It's crazy. So that's what he's used to when he gets on stage, and obviously he was shocked by what happened at the Chappelle show, and the fact that he's not recognizing it shows that he's in a different place right now. He's not.
Yeah, he's disconnected from reality.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, like tweeting conspiracy theories and deep states and all that. It's a bit worrying, but so I guess that's the progress on Elon shenanigans this week's, but there's a slimmer of hope that he's going to step down from the role of Twitter ahead and hopefully focus a little bit more on Tesla. Well, let's jump into the comments.
What if he did the opposite? What if he did the opposite? What if
I think that's where he finally like came to like the Tesla talk and all that on the Twitter space, because you had a lot of people that you would never see them say anything wrong about Tesla just a few weeks ago or a few months ago, that I've been calling for him to step down as Twitter CEO and focus back on Tesla. And now it was starting to be that some of these people were even switching and like, okay, screw even him coming back to Tesla. Resign from Tesla and focus on Twitter then, and we'll find someone else at Tesla. So it was getting to that point where I think he had to do something. But let's see what you guys have to say about it. Let's jump into the comment section.
All right, I'll close this here. Good comments today. Thank you, boss fan. Merry Christmas. Appreciate that. Get you up on screen here briefly.
Yes, thank you, boss fan. $20. That's nice.
Yeah. Question: Tesla has great margins on cars and has already grid electricity auto bidders and virtual power plants. Why are they not including inverters and two-way plugs for cars to combine features? I agree.
Talk about that last week.
Yeah,
you
I
probably
agree
missed that.
That seems like a no-brainer, and it would be nice just to have backup capability for people like Fred who lost power.
Yeah.
When and how many Chevy electric trucks delivered next year? Is Ford increasing production of the Mach-E for next year? I do believe Ford is increasing production of the Mach-E in all their vehicles. They're trying to get up to like 600,000 a year.
In 2024, right? 2025 sometime.
They want to have a run rate of 600,000 by the end of next year among all their vehicles
Oh, really?
globally. Yeah. As far as Chevy though, we've been trying to talk to Chevy PR for so long, and they just really aren't great at what they do. No offense to any person in particular, but um, you know, uh, they walk back. They're like, "Hey, the Chevy Silverado is gonna launch in spring," and they said it's only going to launch for fleet vehicles, and it's going to launch in very low numbers for the whole year for 2023. So I don't think they're going to deliver many, and they're not going to deliver any to consumers. So unless you have, a fleet of, and you ordered a fleet of Chevy electric trucks, those Silverados aren't coming until 2024, which is like kind of bad news for the truck industry.
Mhm.
Ford is obviously going to be producing tons of
Yeah.
F-150s, relatively speaking.
They're
I've
looking
seen
for
them.
a rate 150,000 by the end of next year. So that doesn't, they probably going to deliver a lot less than that. 100,000 would be nice next year, I think.
Yeah. All right, Nick Cedar, question: is there a way for someone to take advantage of the tax rebate if you don't owe that amount in taxes?
I don't think so. That's a
Yeah.
concern. Well, I think there is some
You can
language.
lease it, actually.
Yeah, if you lease it, yeah, that's right. If you lease it, then it goes to the dealership. So that's accurate. But I think there's language in the bill that includes like a shift from tax credit to actual like direct discount at the dealership, right? It's just there's no clear pathway for it yet, but I think that's gonna come eventually. Just maybe not the first year. I think something like that.
Yeah, and they're
Mm.
behind on doing
Yeah,
the
a
behind the
lot of
scenes
things.
stuff. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Nave to Gas says Elon Factor. 3 of my clients canceled their orders because they hate Elon now. They think he's acting like a child, but they ordered a Lucid and 2 Rivians instead. At least they bought EVs. Yeah, that's good that they stayed with EVs and expensive ones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of in that camp. I know it was a lot easier for me to get a Chevy Bolt, uh, just kind of knowing that. I mean, Chevy's not great either. Like, there's no good car companies. I guess Elon probably knows that like he can be a dirtbag and he's really not going to stand out in this world.
Yeah.
But no offense to everybody I know in the car industry, but there's GM spent like 4 years like kissing up to Trump and killing
Yeah.
all the environmental stuff. So, all right, Ron
That's a good
King,
point.
question.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean GM's just going which way the money's coming.
Mhm.
All right, Ron King, question: are there any other companies installing grid batteries with software?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's plenty of them. But I think Tesla right now is having the biggest impact with the mega pack. Like it's not even close really, and it's growing fast. The mega pack, like 2023, it's going to be impressive. The output.
Yeah, and they're the number one brand in the field for
Mm.
sure. So we're talking about the tax credit. Ron King says no, not this year. It's only a credit on the taxes owed.
Yeah.
So he's responding to that previously. Stu, how did you check the inventory for Tesla in the United States? They don't show duplicates on their website and don't list VINs anymore.
Yeah, there's ways if you know people, but like obviously I'm not going to go into the details.
Tired of the Elon drama. Okay. Well, I hope. See you
You and I
later.
both. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Andy Lee Robinson share price now at 123. I have one. It went down in after hours to 122.88. I've lost
Yeah,
thousands, but
someone just asked to. Sorry, but still holding. Someone just asked further down in the comment if we're buying at these levels. I know you've been thinking about it, but I don't think you've pulled the trigger, right?
no, I haven't pulled the trigger, and I'm not. I still have 15 shares from my previous
Yeah.
adventure with Tesla. So
From all of the splits, from 2
from
splits.
3 split and a 5 split.
Yeah.
All right. Oops. Now I lost my power.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
But you stayed on.
Can you read that? Oh
It-
yeah. He revealed himself, alienated his existing and aspiring customers, and turned his brand into a car-shaped MAGA hats. So disappointed in Elon. Yep.
Yeah.
The MAGA. All right. Let's see if we can find a good one here. Nobody loses money on a down stock unless they sell. All right.
Yeah, okay. But like the way back up is going to be a lot longer if you don't stop the free fall, which Elon hasn't done much to stop the free fall.
Andy Lee Robinson, good point, Vaughn. I'm trying to forget that I have them and hope that they'll still be worth something in 10 years' time.
Yeah, but yeah, people have to remember like that. That's great if you bought it with your own cash that you're willing to lose and all that. That's completely fine. But it's not how a lot of the market work, unfortunately. And a lot of people like buy on margins and things like that. And then there's margin call, and then that contributes to like if there's a free fall in the stock, and then people getting margin calls, and then the stock they have to sell in order to cover, and then it keeps falling further. Like that's what's happening. I'm not saying that I'm not defending that use. I don't even use margin. Well, I do use margins sometimes for like basically things that I almost know for fact that's going to be like a non-run, like not Tesla, never Tesla. I wouldn't do there's too much volatility on Tesla, but something like I use like for. Yeah, I want to be careful because I make it sound like I use some insider information. So that's what I'm saying. I can give you an example. Like, for example, I did use some margins on Vail this year because I thought Vail is going to be like it's a no-brainer because especially you own the stocks, you get dividends on it. I could pay my interest on the margins from the dividend alone. So that's been a great move for me. So I've done that, but I'm not talking about any kind of insider information, something like that.
All right, the Jose says, "How's your mom's Bolt?" So it's winter time in Ohio, and she was very curious about why the range went way down. So we had the same conversation that we've had many times with many other people. Chevrolet actually changes the range based on the temperature and how you use it. So.
Which is good. That's the main thing, I think. That's having accurate range prediction inside the car. That range projection is better at eliminating range anxiety than more range.
All right, let's see. Moving on, a rare Facebook comment. Elon is definitely a cult of personality, and I've been a fan for 10 plus years. But there's a time to stop screwing around and get down to brass tacks. He needs to get serious about Tesla or step aside. Yeah, I think that's.
There's a lot of people that have shared that sentiment lately. It just like one of the big one for me has been him. Like, and I was on this. I was trying to get on the Twitter space on him to ask him that question because to elaborate on him saying that his number one priority right now is defeating the woke mind virus. And I'm like, is that really the top priority? Is that really what you should be working on? Because like I understand there is some concern about it when like how prevalent it is like in universities and academics and things like that. Like I can understand there's some issues with that could be significant, but for the most part, like most people that I talk to about it, even people in the universities, it's not like I think the center people in the center they realize that like that's just like okay, the right have their QAnon folks and the left as their like ultra like cancel everything that don't agree with me. Like that's about it. Like there's been versions of that for centuries.
Yeah. What do you think about cars being a bore to Elon Musk these days? He demonstrates that he's moved on. Do you think he's just too bored of Tesla and Twitter's too exciting for him?
Yeah, well, that was my point. I mean, I'm back on the Elon bandwagon as soon as he seems more excited about the Cybertruck as he does about the next QAnon drop. Like that's been my line. Like when I see him start to like even like the Tesla Semi event, for example. So there was an opportunity for us to see him more recently and talk just Tesla, and it didn't seem that excited about it. He didn't seem to be that knowledgeable about it. Like I forget the guy Presley. I think his name Dan Presley, if I'm not mistaken, is the guy's name that was on the stage with him. And that guy was good. Like I would have taken like just him. Like Elon, move aside, just him does a presentation. Obviously he knows more about it than Elon, and that's not Elon's fault. Like any CEO, like the guy that's running the program would know more about it than the CEO. Like I'm not blaming Elon for that, but he just was a lot better at communicating what's exciting about this program. And Elon just didn't seem that there was no pep to it. So I understand David's comment here.
Yeah, and also you and I talked about that. Elon doesn't always know the minutia of what's going on, but it seemed like he was even further out of the picture. He didn't know about the route of the truck, for instance, and other little things.
And normally, like, and it probably still is to a degree, but you had to, that was one of the things that even his detractors had to give him. Like, for a CEO, like, he knows a lot in the details of like all the engineering programs. Like he does sometimes, like on calls and everything like that, like defer to another person. But for the most part, like he can tell you like everything that's going on, which has always been impressive. And yes, it does seems to be fading away a little bit at this point.
Right, Dan Oberst says, if Elon was confident that Tesla stockholders support his antics, he should make a shareholder proposal to remove himself as CEO. He won't, because he knows.
Yeah, especially if he's not voting his own shares on that.
Right.
Yeah, if he's not voting his own shares on that, he might be. Yeah, like I was going to say, might be surprised by it, but like Dan says, he might not be surprised, and that's why he's not doing it.
I don't follow this closely. You might. I'm curious. Like, he's got all those options that he was awarded on those tranches, and then he's sold a bunch. How is he as a percentage owner of the company versus where he was, like 5 years ago? Because he's been given a lot, but he's also sold a lot.
Yeah, he's definitely below 20% now. He was at 22 a few years ago, and I definitely think he's below 20. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's closer to 15 at this point, which is still like incredible for a company that big for a founder to retain that kind of ownership.
Well, that's why
if you look at Google and things like that, like Sergey Brin and Larry Page, like I don't think it's nowhere near like 10%.
No, they have like 1% and 2% or something.
Yeah, even Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs had a very storied history with Apple coming in and out and all that, but still nowhere near that kind of percentage. It's extremely rare for a company, though. But Tesla is still like relatively young. Like it's not even 20 years old. So
yeah, I mean, and what a lot of founders do, like I think Zuckerberg, Google, they make their shares like 10 by voting shares.
Yeah,
so,
preferred shares. Yeah.
Right. So they only own 2% of the company, but then they own like 50% of the votes.
Yeah.
So they can keep themselves in no matter what. I know.
Yeah, to his credit, Elon has not done that. Or they had at some point, but I think once they went public, they changed the structures.
Yep. All right. Michael Romano says, can you guys discuss who, if anyone, could replace Elon? Who has the stamina, focus, and vision?
Well, you don't need as much stamina, focus, and focus. Well, I guess focus and vision probably, but stamina. If Tesla is your only focus, you don't have 6 other companies to manage, so you can put that aside for sure. The vision itself, also, like the first 20 years of Tesla, the culture that was put together and the vision put forward by Elon, and the mission statement of the company, as long as what you need is really someone that's going to keep Tesla on track with the mission, and then a good manager that's going to keep talent wanting to come to Tesla and all that. That's what you really need, really. So as anyone to replace Elon, Tom Zhu has been like the top pick right now. Like there's been a lot of rumors that he's actually being groomed for, maybe not for replacement of Elon as CEO, but maybe for like president of automotive, which used to be a position that existed at Tesla.
Or like a COO position, maybe?
Maybe something like that, though Tesla never had a COO, so it would be brand new. But president of automotive would maybe make sense. But even for the vision part, like you put Elon as chairman of the board or something like that, and you can have him like be the keeper of the vision. while you have like just a strong manager to take over.
Yeah.
Obviously, Herbert Diaz, I think, is the one that people keep going back to, which I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be opposed to Tom Zhu either. I didn't like on the there was another Twitter space with Ross and Gary Black, I think is his name. Though I don't want to put that comment on Gary, because I think that was Ross that said it. That said that he didn't like it at all, the idea of Tom taking over, because he says like a Chinese person will have will collide. That it's not the same culture, and will collide as a leader, and especially in Texas, because Tesla is now based in Texas, that it would be a problem.
Sounds a little racist.
Well, I wasn't going that far, to be honest. I was going mostly racist. I was just thinking it's just plain wrong, because first of all, Zhu I think is U.S. educated, so he spent years in the U.S. and I'm pretty sure he's aware of the cultural differences between the Chinese people and especially the workers. I guess like the working culture is different, so I'm sure he's aware of that and can adapt to it. I don't think that's really a problem.
And then, like in a more emergency situation, we've talked about Zach Erkorn taking over, as an interim level, and maybe Drew Baglino or something.
Yeah, I mean, you can elevate also a lot of these people to just take more responsibility. So, like, let's say that you bring Herbert as CEO, or you bring Tom as CEO, and you can just like put Drew as CTO and give him more responsibility, and maybe Zach as a CFO and COO, and also have more responsibility, things like that.
Yep. All right, moving on. Question: do you expect Tesla will continue to drop prices in 2023 on 3 and Y in the USA as they ramp up production in the Austin factory? With potential recession and Elon antics, how low can prices go?
That's the big question. Eric is asking the huge question. Like, where is the bottom and how things are going to track in 2023? So hard to predict. So hard to predict, because I have some hope that the Elon antics impact is going to slow down. I think there was some indication this week that Elon is starting to get the message that a lot of the people are at the end of their rope, and they are like, I guess, like, don't push us a lot more, because like Elon, for all it's worth, saying that he won't suppress his view and all that, I think like anyone really, like ourselves included, we want to be liked, we want to be loved and all that. And if he start to realize that there's a true shift in the public opinion, I think he might starts to revert and adjust. Or I mean, you don't have to suppress your opinions. I mean, just realize the impact that what you're saying, and just put more responsibilities on your words. Like, that's it that people are asking. So I think we're going to see that more. So I think the impacts on the invest, and I also believe personally that the impact on the stock price, at least, maybe not an impact on sales, everything, but on the stock price, Elon's actual sales of stocks had a way bigger negative impact on the stock than his antics. So I think that will calm down. But so a lot of Tesla's performance in 2023 is going to be based on, like, if we do enter a recession and how strong of a recession that is, that obviously is going to have the biggest impact, in my opinion. And then yeah, I think the production ramps, things are looking good on the Model 3, Model Y, I should say, production ramp in Texas and Berlin. So I think 2023 is going to be a big year on that front. But then you're gonna have to keep selling those cars. So obviously, I think inflation is going to go down, and Tesla's costs are going to go down, and they're going to be able to absorb a little bit of that, the price decreases that I would assume would happen in 2023 on most of Tesla's vehicle programs. But the Cybertruck is going to be the big game changer, I think, in 2023, is how soon they can get it to production and how fast they can ramp up production. Because we were just talking about the F-150, it would be nice if the Ford can produce 100,000 next year. You just cast a lot of doubts about any kind of significant volume on the Silverado electric. There's a real chance that within the next 12 to 18 months, Tesla Cybertruck could catch up in volumes with those programs. Tesla has the credibility on that front in terms of like ramping up electric vehicle programs. They have the credibility on that front. So, but do we have a CEO that's really committed to doing that? And if not, like someone like this. So there's so many factors at play. So personally, I think that 2023 could be good, but also it could be just it could be another difficult year leading to 2024 being where things really go back up.
All right. Andy Lee Robinson thinking now that if he steps down or is removed from Tesla, the stock price will rocket. Just need a charismatic visionary to replace him who is an petulant child. I don't know.
I don't agree with that.
I
That the
think
stock would
Elon,
skyrocket.
I think it's probably
Mhm.
some would buy, some would sell.
Yeah, exactly. All the diehard fans that still love him, a lot of them are shareholders. Like they will not be happy about it.
Right. The Jose, maybe Elon is behaving the way he is recently to tank Tesla so he can buy back low.
With what
I
money?
know it's a stretch. Yeah.
He's
And
pouring all of that into Twitter.
somebody was saying,
You have to realize too that every time he's selling, half of that is going to taxes.
right.
So there's that.
Also, how leveraged is he? I guess he's not super leveraged on Twitter, but like I think generally, like he lives his life on loans against Tesla shares. Do you think he's anywhere near getting margin called on any of that?
Well, I mean, my understanding is that Tesla has to disclose all of that, and in the latest filings, it doesn't look like there's that much that much borrowing against Tesla stocks.
Yeah, you
I
can
would
live
be
pretty
curious.
good on like a very small percentage of
Yeah,
Teslas.
I would be curious in February when we get the 10K, the 10K from Tesla. I would be curious to see if there's any of that going on. That could be interesting. Yeah.
On FSD, David Pierm says my car hasn't improved in at least the last 2 years. Okay.
A lot of people are saying that, especially if you're not in California.
Yeah. Do we talk about?
Yeah, I did bring that up. What Shane said about if we're buying or not idea.
All right. My wife wants to get rid of her Model S because of Elon. She refuses to buy any more Tesla stock. Elon is hurting Tesla. Yep. We know that's really happening. In 2024, the tax credit can be transferred at point of sale for EV purchases. Yep.
That's what I was thinking earlier. Yeah.
All right. John Pinky says Elon will defend Trump on Twitter and will have to align himself with Jared, the Saudis, the Trumps, the MAGAs, the Nazis, and the Q. I guess it's slippery slope there, but I see that the pictures of him in Saudi Arabia, or sorry, at Qatar with the Saudis and Jared Kushner.
The Qatars. How do you say that? People from Qatar.
Yeah, I've heard people say Qatar and Qatar, so I don't know. All right, John Pinky, Tesla stock price $50 USD for all of 2023. It's directly related to Twitter. He's calling it. I don't think so. Jesus Garcia, how would these new 2023 tax credits apply to EVs with specs and performance of the Metacycle and Rivet Anthem? I think that's for another podcast.
Yeah, those are motorcycles. I don't think there's any tax credit for motorcycles, are there?
There wasn't, but there's going to be something in the infrastructure plan, and they're
really
working on it. Yeah, you gonna get a 0 or something, Fred?
Well, I'm in Canada. So I've been perfectly willing to buy an electric motorcycle for a long time, as long as they let me pass my test with electric motorcycles and not gasoline one.
That's my problem too.
Yeah.
All right. There's a victim of the mind virus, the woke mind virus, right in our forums.
Well, I hope that
zombie
you recover
walking around. Shane O'Sullivan, when he came onto the space initially, he sounded very shaken after yesterday's fall off the cliff stock price. But there's no challenge at Tesla anymore. Nothing to draw him back. Bad sign for Tesla.
There's no challenge at Tesla, really. Tesla is still dabbling in battery production. I feel that's the biggest challenge, really. And
Tesla is stagnated. It's boring. Cybertruck, come on. I feel like there's lots to do. I don't know. Musk failed to deliver 30,000 car or pickup truck. I think he's delivered on that part.
Yeah, well, no, the $30,000 car. That was a big thing on the call with Gary Black and Ross Gerber. Like they keep saying that it should be out already. I don't know about that exactly.
All right, Electric Family says Tesla. Elon, how about any other manufacturers? Get a room. We did talk about the ID4, but it's true. Maybe we should do 2 podcasts, one for Tesla
Yeah.
and one for the rest of the industry.
Man, but there was not that much news this week, guys.
I know,
We've been
slow.
scraping to get some news. It's always like that the week of Christmas, and the next week's gonna be the same thing, guys. Like I'm working all week, but don't expect a ton of news coming out.
Here's somebody to run Tesla from Lebanon.
Yeah.
We have Carlos Gozin, who would have good energy
How
to
you
run
pronounce his
Tesla.
name?
I don't know. I've
Gozin?
heard it. Yeah, it's like every letter is the wrong sound. He would be an interesting combo with Elon. That would be interesting. Give you that.
Yeah, I don't know his status. I haven't looked up like how in deep doo-doo he is right now.
I saw I was on a Delta flight back from the Kia event, and
and you saw him in a suitcase?
No, he was in the baggage claim area, the oversized. No. Sorry, that's inappropriate. But there was a documentary on his situation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's out there.
Do you know which channels have that? I'll be curious to look that up.
No, look it up. I'm sure it's.
And is he in it? Like, is he giving interviews?
Yeah, he's got like gray hair because he like dyed his hair black and everything for the role. But
I've been curious to see that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't get through it all because I
fell asleep
or something. All right, we're getting toward the end here. Let's see.
Yeah.
Elon doesn't want to be the CEO of Tesla. He says this many times. He wants to be with the team working. Okay.
Well, he has plenty of opportunities to not do that, and he still stays CEO. I think, like that's if there's one thing that we have learned from this whole situation is, and I think a lot of people has opened their eyes to that, is you cannot trust everything that Elon is saying. You can't. Sometimes he lies, and he likes to massage the truth. I hope that, like, I know that I would have said that on the podcast like 2 years ago, and a lot of the people would be like just hammering me on this right now. Today, I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I think it's right.
The guy.
Yeah, because sometimes I'd post a news story and things like that, like based on sources and everything, and then like Elon would like deny it or something, or other people would do it, and then people are like, oh, why are you not correcting? Like, are we not taking that down? Like, I would add like, okay, Elon says that's not true, whatever, but and then people are like, well, why are you just hiding that? You should take it off. It's definitely not true. If Elon said it, they're like, no. It's like some people are saying this is true, and then Elon says it's not true. It's not like the truth lies probably in between. Like it's not as simple as that.
At best, yeah.
No.
All right, I think we're pretty much done.
All right. Well, yeah, we've been an hour 15. I guess maybe a little 5-minute hiatus with my power going down. I don't even know if I'm back on now or if the power walls are still on.
Check your app.
Yeah, I need to check my app. But my screen here is just not getting back on. I hope it didn't burn it or something. But we'll look that up, and then I have to go shovel snow for like 2 hours. But thanks everyone for listening to the show. We're gonna have the last show of the year next week. We'll try to make it a big one, even though there's not gonna be that much news. But we're gonna try to do maybe like some kind of a year in review, and then maybe something about like what we expect into 2023. So stay tuned for that. And if you do enjoy the podcast, please give us a thumbs up, a like, whatever it is on the app that you're watching, because we are on everywhere and we're live everywhere every week for you guys. And we do this for free. Basically, like the last few weeks, we didn't have any sponsor on the show. So I hope you guys can appreciate that and give us a 5-star review if you do. That's also super helpful. And we're going to see you same place, same times next week.